Today we'll be continuing our Disney Resort series with the Deluxe Resorts at Walt Disney World to help you decide if these premium price resorts are right for you and your travel party. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, November 24th, and you're listening to episode 63, Guide to Walt Disney World's Deluxe Resorts, Part 1. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. It was another big news week this week, so let's dive right in. Muppets Courtyard is closing permanently. This is big news, but also not surprising, given that we knew this area was a candidate for the new Monsters, Inc. land coming to Hollywood Studios. Disney announced this week that Muppets Courtyard will be reimagined into the new land that will feature a suspended doors attraction, which we've seen some concept art at D23 this year. Yes. So we knew that was coming, but that's going to go at the back of the land. A theater show is coming, as well as shopping and dining. Based on the concept art, it looks like the theater show may go in the existing Muppets Vision 3D theater, like on the right when you're facing the entrance to Muppets Courtyard. And then Mama Melrose's and Pizza Rizzo will be rethemed more than likely. Those are on the left, right, when you're facing it.
Yeah.
And that whole space is going to be expanded going back, like south in that direction. The attraction itself seems like it's going to go at the very, very back of the land. And of course, this is just based on our perception of what we're seeing. Time is going to tell as we learn more. Disney didn't say when Muppets Courtyard is going to close, but they first made this announcement at D23, like we said, and they said construction would start in 2025. So it's likely going to be sometime in the next year or so.
This was the only real spot that made sense to me, so I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, we knew that it was one of the two most likely.
Studios.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. One of the two most likely. Yes. The first being there, but also
behind.
Animation Courtyard.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, like there was room back there.
This just made sense to me.
But yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So still in the Muppets, they are moving down Sunset Boulevard, though, and they're going to be taking over Rock and Roller Coaster. Yeah, so Disney shared a piece of concept art with the Muppets in the limo from the attraction. They said the Muppets will team up with rock and roll's biggest artists for the reimagined attraction. They said nothing about a timeline, though, but they did say that there's still time to enjoy the attraction in its current form before it closes for the rethemed. Again, we're going to keep our ear to the ground here for further details on that, and we're going to share it here as soon as we know more.
It's crazy because this one just had a shutdown for quite a while.
Like in the last
not that
2
long
years,
ago, so
it's had,
too bad they just didn't do it before that.
That's the thing.
That's okay.
But you're right. Like in the last 2 years, it's had like multi-month refurbishments.
Shutdowns, refurbishments. So I guess here we go again.
But you know what I think is going to end up happening is like the theming, it's like traffic signs and things like that in the attraction right now is just going to be Muppets themed.
And no more Aerosmith songs.
That's the thing. So I think like the track itself and like the dark coaster concept's not going to change. It's just going to be like the signs and the stuff is going to change.
Not the virtual queue, but the queue itself will just change.
And of course the queue and like the facade and whatnot. Because now it's like the guitar, right? With but I think that's all going to change. That's going to be the biggest changes. We're just speculating here, of course, but that's more than likely what it's going to be.
Agreed.
In Lightning Lane news, Disney made a surprise change to Premier Pass this week. On November 22nd, Disney said that Premier Pass would now be available to all guests, including guests staying at moderate and value resorts, not just at the Deluxe Resorts. This change is live now. So if you wanted to try Premier Pass without staying in a Deluxe Resort, now you can. Prices for Premier Pass and the manner in which it's booked has not changed. So it's still 7 days out, just like Multipass and Single Pass. And it's still ultra expensive, so ranging from $129 to $449 per person per park. Of note, Premier Pass sold out for Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios this week leading up to Thanksgiving. It's more popular than we anticipated. That's surprising to us because, given the high price and the fact that Multipass and Single Pass are still around, we're curious to see how popular it's going to be now that it's available to all Disney Resort guests. Disney is testing a new single rider line at Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and the ride vehicles are now numbered in terms of seating, so 1 through 3 essentially. Before, there weren't numbers there, but now it's clearly marked, so it's likely that your party may be seated with a single rider if you're only 2 in a row. This is good and bad in our opinion. We like having a row to ourselves when it's just, Lucy and I, or a row with each of our kids when it's the 4 of us, but it's good for my solo trip when I go in January, right? I should be able to ride Remy's without Lightning Lane or a super long wait.
True. I wonder if you are going to try out a bunch of single riders.
Why not? Yeah. Like I know Rise is doing one right now.
Because we don't do it, so you might as well do it on this one.
Yep, exactly.
For
100%.
sure.
Why not?
So for us this week, Oliver's evening course at work is finally over. It was a very long 2 weeks, but we're back to our regular schedule this week, and it's going to be a lot nicer, I think.
Yep.
In fact, Oliver's actually off on Friday with the kids because they have no school. So that'll be a nice catch-up day for you too at home.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Just in time too, of course, because we have so much to do with Sophia's birthday coming up and then the holidays also coming up.
No, 100%. We need to get our shopping done and put a dent in that.
Yeah, it's okay. That's what I have my evenings back, so I'll be able to do a lot of that stuff in the evening.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
We've actually been pretty lucky so far with weather. It's actually been pretty mild here, but then Mother Nature, winter hit us with a vengeance.
Yep.
And we had some major blowing snow earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
And then overnight last night, we got about 20 centimeters or about 8 inches of snow, which is a lot. Not terrible. We've seen worse. But the winds that we get here where we live, we're blowing it all over the place. So snow drifts were crazy. It was getting actually ridiculous. We spent a good chunk of our morning shoveling this morning.
Yeah,
so that
100%.
took probably over an hour.
Yeah. And you know,
it's like it was iced over. You had to,
and it's moments like this where I'm like, oh God.
We wish we lived in Florida.
I wish I lived in Florida.
Welcome to Canada.
No, exactly. And, you know, I always joke about this with my coworkers and friends and whatnot. But the second I retire, I am wintering in Florida. That is like a certainty.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Moana 2 is coming out this week. So we're likely going to take the kids to see that this upcoming weekend because the following weekend is Sophia's birthday party.
Yeah, exactly. She has the benefit and the pitfall of having a birthday in December, right?
Because same with us too.
No, exactly. It's back to back. And actually, we had a parent boo-boo last year. It was our fail, right? So we put essentially some of our Christmas gifts under our bed, which, you know, the kids they play around the house and sometimes they wind up under our bed. So she found these gifts and she
found a lot of gifts.
No, and they were for Christmas, right? And so of course, at this stage in our life, that's a big but thank God her birthday hadn't come yet. So she got that stuff for her birthday.
She was spoiled.
That was salvaged for another year. Thank God.
Yeah.
All right, today we'll be continuing our Disney Resorts guides with the Deluxe Resorts. Originally, I intended for this to be one episode and the last one in this series of going over the different resort tiers. But there's just so many Deluxe Resorts, especially when you factor in the DVC villas. So for this not to be a 2-hour episode, we split it into 2. So if you're tuning into this episode first, we covered the Value Resorts and Moderate Resorts in episodes 60 and 61 respectively. So if you want to hear more about those, that's where you're going to find that information. Reminder that Disney categorizes their resorts offerings by tier. So with Value being the least expensive with the fewest amenities, moderates are a little bit more expensive with a few more amenities, and lastly, the Deluxe Resorts, which are the most expensive, and for the most part, they offer the most amenities as well as some exclusive perks. Not only that, but several of the Deluxe Resorts are actually located close enough that you can walk to one or more of the parks from your resorts, which is awesome. But before we get too far into that, I think it's important to make the distinction between the Deluxe Resorts and the Deluxe Studios and Villas, or the DVC properties. So the Deluxe Resorts are just your standard deluxe hotels, right? They're Disney hotels, but the studios and villas are the DVC properties, right? Around Walt Disney World, they are booked by DVC members using their points. To keep it super simple, because this isn't a DVC episode, but just to give you an idea of what that is, this is how it works. DVC members initially buy a certain point allotment at a home resort, which can be any of the resorts in the DVC collection. They are assigned a use year, which refers to the month where they get their point allotment every year. Let's say February, for example. Every year, they can use their points to book stays at their home resort 11 months out or 7 months out at any other DVC property. They can also bank from the previous year and borrow from the next year if they wish. There is a resale market for DVC contracts, but these usually have limitations on booking and are typically much less expensive than buying direct from Disney. We won't get into the weeds of that in this episode, but I think we'll do a future DVC episode where we're going to get into all of that. So long story short, DVC members can book deluxe villas on property using points.
So the Deluxe Resorts have buildings that are dedicated as DVC studios and villas, whereas some resorts are all deluxe villas and studios. Having said that, regular guests can book DVC studios and villas paying with cash. You don't have to be a DVC member to stay in these rooms. And then the benefits, whether they are a DVC resort or if you're staying in the DVC rooms of the Deluxe Resort, the benefits and perks are all the same. So what resorts do these include? Well, the Deluxe Resorts are Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, Disney's Beach Club Resort, Disney's Boardwalk Inn, Disney's Contemporary Resort, Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, Disney's Polynesian Resort, Disney's Wilderness Lodge, and Disney's Yacht Club Resort. So there's quite a few of them on that list.
Yep.
You'll notice that Saratoga Springs, Old Key West, and the Riviera are not on this list, and that's because they are DVC resorts. But like we said, you can book rooms here just like a regular guest. You don't have to be a DVC member at that
That's
point.
Correct, yeah.
And then the cabins at Fort Wilderness Resort were also added to this lineup actually very recently, just this past summer.
Yeah, exactly.
The others are sections of the deluxe resorts that are designated DVC rooms. And then these are Bay Lake Tower over at the Contemporary Resort, Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek Villas at Wilderness Lodge Resort, the Polynesian Village Villas and Bungalows at the Polynesian Resort, Grand Floridian Villas at the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, Disney's Boardwalk Villas at the Disney's Boardwalk Inn, Beach Club Villas at Beach Club Resort, Animal Kingdom Lodge Villas and Kidani Village Villas at the Animal Kingdom Lodge Resort.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially the way it breaks down is that you have your DVC specific resorts, right? So Saratoga Springs, Old Key West, Riviera, and now cabins at Fort Wilderness.
Just recently.
And then you have all of the deluxe resorts that have essentially like wings or like sections of the resort that are DVC, right? That's kind of how it breaks down. So just like we did with the value and moderates, we're going to go over theming and general feel of each of the resorts and what they have to offer in terms of room categories, transportation options, dining amenities, and other activities. We'll kick things off with the monorail resorts, and we're going to start with our personal favorite, which is Polynesian Village Resort. Okay, so this is one of 2 opening day resorts, and it opened at the same time as Magic Kingdom on October 1st of 1971. It's located directly across Seven Seas Lagoon from Magic Kingdom. This resort has South Pacific theming and definitely feels like a vacation resort. Picture palm trees, tiki torches, island vibes. It has a very relaxed feel, and we really do love the theming of the resort here. The lobby is grand and has kind of dark brown accents, lanterns suspended from the ceiling, and like a big tiki statue in the entrance that you should definitely take your photo with if you're staying there or if you're just visiting. And the resort is split between several buildings, which are Tuvalu, Fiji, Aotearoa, I apologize if I'm butchering that pronunciation, Tonga, Rarotonga, Samoa, Hawaii, Moria, Tokelau, and Pago Pago, as well as the bungalows, which are on the water. Those last, so Morea, Tokelau, and Pago Pago, and the bungalows, as a matter of fact, right, are all part of DVC. So these are the DVC villas at the resort. The rooms are different from the regular guest rooms here. Both the standard guest rooms as well as the villas got a refresh in recent years. The regular guest rooms, so like in the actual like Disney proper resort rooms, these are themed to Moana. They have island theming and not so subtle Moana touches, right? So they have blue accents and natural wood colors. And personally, we find that they look stunning. Like they're really, really beautiful rooms. The DVC villas have a similar color palette and are equipped with a small kitchenette and a Murphy bed, as well as a 5th sleeper, which like doubles as like the TV stand. We stayed here in 2022 and we were in the Tokelau building and we had a great stay. We like loved our stay here.
It was perfect.
Quick note is next month in December, the new Island Tower at Disney's Polynesian Resort will open its doors. So this is a new tower that's being added to the current lineup of DVC rooms that already exist at the Poly. It's going to be part of the existing resort, and DVC members who bought points at the Poly are going to have first crack at reservations here. The photos we've seen so far are looking like really good. Like I can't wait to check that out. I'll definitely be stopping by when I'm there at the end of January.
So in terms of what you can expect to see for prices, this is ultra expensive. For the regular resort rooms, prices in the quieter times of the year, standard rooms are in the mid 600s to 900s per night. Yes, you heard that right. That's for the low season. Then the club level rooms were usually at least $1,000 a night and then usually more. The club level suites are usually at least $1,500 and then over $3,500 depending on the room category. The villas, which are the DVC rooms, can be booked by anyone, but priority definitely at 11 months goes to the DVC members who have this one as their home resort.
Yeah, exactly.
The DVC rooms are studio villas or the bungalows on the water. The bungalows are over $3,000 a night at any time of year. Doesn't matter, low season, high season, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty steep, yep.
Prices will definitely be higher for the busier time of year, like the holidays and then school breaks. The standard rooms also have categories, as you may have guessed. There are different view rooms like the garden, pool view, lagoon, and then theme park views will all give you great views of Magic Kingdom fireworks right from your room. It's pretty good.
Yep.
Prices will definitely fluctuate quite a bit depending on which room view you book while making your reservation. And then, of course, these are more expensive.
Yeah, they're more expensive depending what you get,
Exactly.
right? Like your theme park view rooms are going to be the most expensive for sure.
No doubt about it.
For transportation, this is a monorail resort, and that means it's really close to Magic Kingdom. There's a monorail station that goes right through the resort, so you don't have to really go anywhere to take the monorail. One thing to note is that depending where you're staying, it may be quicker to walk to the TTC and take the monorails from there instead of the monorail station at the resort. This is especially true if you're trying to get to Epcot. The resort sits on the monorail loop, so the resort's loop essentially, right? So when you take it at the Poly, it'll go to Grand Floridian, and then from there around to Magic Kingdom. It's a really quick ride, maybe like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah,
then
probably.
It's just like what might slow it down is just people getting off
Yes.
and on, right? And then it continues its loop around to Contemporary and then TTC before looping back around to the Poly. If you're heading to Epcot, you'll have to loop around like from the Poly. It doesn't go both ways, right? So you're going to have to go Poly, Grand Flow, Magic Kingdom, Contemporary, TTC, right? To get a TTC if you're on the monorail loop.
Yes.
So it probably makes more sense, especially if you're staying in the buildings that are closer to TTC, to just walk to TTC and take the Epcot line right from there if you're trying to get to Epcot. If you're not pressed for time and you're okay with the leisure ride and making the transfer, then you can save some steps for sure. But the TTC is really close, you guys. From Tokelau, where we stayed in 2022, it was maybe like a 5-minute walk. In some buildings like Pago Pago are even closer. It's like a 2-minute walk, right? So just be mindful of that. You can also take a ferry directly from the resort to Magic Kingdom if you like. And there's a boat launch here that's going to take you straight across the lagoon, right? And of course, if you're walking to the TTC, there's also the ferry from the TTC to Magic Kingdom, right? So that's an option as well. And yet another mode of transportation from the Poly to Magic Kingdom is your own 2 feet, right? So given that it's so close to the park, you can take the walking path along the lagoon and walk to the park. It's not nearly as far as it looks. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how fast you walk. And you loop around by Grand Floridian and then back around. To travel to Epcot, we touched on that, but the best way is by far the monorail, right? So you either take the monorail to the TTC or walk to the TTC and take the Epcot line from there. And it's bus transportation for Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Disney Springs. In our experience, taking the buses here was a breeze, and as always, no issues whatsoever. There's only one station as well, so you don't have to worry about multiple stops. One thing to note, and we experienced this, is that during off-peak times, it'll sometimes share buses with Grand Floridian. It's not a huge deal. It stopped at Poly first regardless, but just something to be mindful of because that can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So for dining, this is a deluxe resort, so you're going to have more options than the value resorts and the moderates except for Coronado. You've got a few options here, with one being the most popular restaurant at the Disney resorts, and that is Ohana. Ohana is a table service restaurant on the second floor of the main building that serves a family-style fixed-price menu, and it's wildly popular. Very hard to get reservations
hugely
here.
Popular, yep.
They have character breakfast with Mickey and Stitch, but the dinner service does not have characters, just to be clear. The dinner service features bread, salad, chicken wings, the hugely popular Ohana noodles, beef, chicken, and peel-and-eat shrimp. And then for dessert, it's, again, the hugely popular bread pudding with caramel sauce and vanilla ice cream. And it's seriously delicious. We've eaten there a few times.
Yeah, for sure.
This is one of our favorite meals on property. We eat here pretty much every trip. Not every trip, but almost. Yeah, our kids weren't like the biggest fans, but I think we made a mistake of eating there on the first day after getting off a plane, and they were just so tired.
No, exactly. And like one thing we didn't know is the other things you can get on the menu,
yeah, we should
right?
have got some hot dogs.
Exactly. So just so you guys know, if you have picky kids, they're going to bring things like mac and cheese, fries, hot dogs, and similar items on request, right? So just ask.
Yeah, our kids would have been so happy with that. So then next to that, you have the Tambu Lounge. This serves up a selection of fun cocktails along with some food options. You can get the a la carte items from Ohana here, like the noodles and the bread pudding. So that's definitely a win for sure. Usually only after 4 p.m. And then you'll have to ask because they are not actually on the physical menu.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you also have Kona Cafe, which is on the second floor of the main building. This restaurant has an Asian and American type menu with a full sushi kitchen. It serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you'll find the popular Tonga toast that's served with strawberry sauce and then your choice of meat. For dinner, they have a lot of options that should appeal to most guests, along with some very adventurous options.
Yeah, I actually had sushi here, and it was like, it had raw fish on top, and I hadn't realized that when I ordered it, and I was expecting it, but I tried it and I actually ended up loving it.
Yeah, I remember when it was placed in front of you, I was like, but
I was like, initially, I was like, but I tried it and it was super good.
Yeah, we ate here with the kids. It was kind of like an unplanned supper after a park day in 2022, and we actually really loved it. We had gone to the pool. We just kind of cut out of the parks early. Everybody was tired. We did some pool, and then we just thought, this is perfect.
Yep.
Since then, the space has received a refresh and it looks really good in here.
They revamped it recently. It looks really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then right next door is Kona Island, which is a grab-and-go option featuring light bites, pastries, coffees, and then similar options.
Yeah, exactly. And then Captain Cook's is the main quick service location, and it has unique options to the resort as well as your standard options. The highlight here are the pulled pork nachos, which are hugely popular. Pineapple Lanai is just outside the back door of the main lobby, not far from the pool. And this is, of course, where you're going to find Dole Whip, along with a few other sweet treats. The Barefoot Pool Bar is near the main pool and serves drinks and light bikes and has great views of Magic Kingdom. The Oasis Pool Bar is near the quiet pool and serves a decent menu of appetizers, entrees like burgers, wraps, and fish tacos, and of course, a selection of drinks. And last but certainly not least is Trader Sam's Grog Grotto and Tiki Terrace. This is a highly themed lounge in the lower lobby of the main building. The door to the grotto is actually like super unassuming. And if you didn't know it was there, you'd likely miss it, right? But the huge lineup will usually tell you that you're in the right place.
Agreed, yes.
This usually opens at 3 p.m. And without giving all away, the grotto is heavily themed and the grotto itself has a personality, right? So you're going to see the whole lounge react when a certain drink is ordered. The cast members are in on it as well, right? It's really immersive. It's like super fun and it's definitely worth doing at least once. The Tiki Terrace is outside and it is less themed, but you can still get the fun drinks here as well. Like I said, it opens at 3 p.m. daily and it's hugely popular, right? Like wildly popular. You can put your name on the wait list and be called. We waited about an hour the first time we went. We actually had a meal at Ohana while we were waiting. And during busy times, the wait list does fill up, so you might not be able to get in at all. So if this is something you really want to experience, you may have to get here early and line up to get your name on the list right at 3 p.m.
And then you have to be prepared, just like if you went to Oga's Cantina, to sit with random people.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. We did. We ended up sitting with, initially we sat with
a grandma and
her granddaughter. Yeah, exactly. We were on a trip together, which was cool. And then we sat with a couple of DVC members.
Yep. And everybody was nice, but just you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, it is. But it's fun like that. Yeah.
All right, next up, let's talk amenities and the other activities when you are staying at this resort. There are 2 pools here, and the Island Tower will add a pool and a splash area once that's opened. The lava pool is the flagship pool, and it features a 142-foot water slide. The kids had a blast on that one when we stayed here. They were up and down, up and down.
Exactly.
There's the Oasis pool, which is a quiet leisure pool. The Island Tower will feature Moana's Voyage, which will be a kids' splash area with a life-size Moana statue, as well as the Cove Pool, which will have a leisure pool. You can also catch the Magic Kingdom fireworks from the beach at the Poly, and they will pipe in the music from Happily Ever After as well. So that's actually a really great way to watch the fireworks when staying here.
Yeah, agreed,
and you just
100%.
Pop right back into your hotel room to go to bed.
100%.
You'll also be able to catch the nightly electrical water pageant on the Seven Seas Lagoon.
Which is super loud.
It is. We were surprised the first time. It didn't wake our kids up because they were already in bed, but we were like, oh, that's very loud. Yeah. There's catch and release fishing, motorized boat rentals, a walking running trail around the lagoon, campfire activities, and then movies under the stars, which is pretty much what every resort does.
Yeah, exactly.
For the movies under the stars.
Yes. Yeah.
There are other activities available, and it's definitely worth checking the board in the lobby or with the front counter when you check in to see what's available. So for merchandise, you have the Boutique, Moana Mercantile. We loved staying here and would 100% stay here again. The theming is great. The dining options are absolutely plentiful and delicious. And then being that it's on the monorail, you're just a really quick ride away from all the other great dining options at the other monorail resorts. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it can feel busy and crowded at times, but the views of Cinderella's Castle, Dole Whip on Demand, and Ohana Noodles and Bread Pudding, yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah, agreed 100%. Next up, let's head to Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, or Grand Flo for short. If you've ever wondered what the large resort with the white exterior and red roofs is across Magic Kingdom, that's the Grand Flo. Disney describes it as an elegant Victorian-style resort from Palm Beach's golden era. It's definitely a beautiful resort, and it does feel like more fancy, right, than the other monorail resorts, or all the other resorts for that matter. The exterior of the buildings are pure white with red roofs, and it's a striking contrast, and it's quite nice to look at. There's no doubt about that. The lobby is grand with large chandeliers and balconies overlooking the center of the lobby. It's very swanky, right? It definitely feels more adult here, and the Disney touches at the resort, they're subtle. Having said that, this is still Disney, so the kids would love staying here, right? Just like the Polynesian, it is expensive though. So like really expensive, right? A standard guest room here during the low season will be upwards of $700 a night and more often closer to $1,000 a night. The club level rooms typically range from $1,000 to just over $1,500 a night. And there are DVC villas at this resort as well, which range typically from over $1,500 a night to just under $2,000 a night on average. This resort is undergoing renovations as we speak, and the rooms have been refreshed, and they really needed it, especially at these prices, right? The new rooms feature pale and dark blue accents, natural colored faux wood vinyl flooring with subtle nods to Mary Poppins. The new rooms are really very beautiful, and not that the price tag is any more palatable, right? Because these are still like atrociously expensive, but at least the rooms have been brought into the 2020s, right? The DVC villas also received a refresh and feature those Murphy beds and fifth sleeper, and that was also a very welcome update. The refreshed rooms also look really, really good at the DVC villas. There's no doubt about that. You have theme park views, lagoon view rooms, and garden views with prices reflecting that depending on where you're staying.
In terms of transportation, the situation is definitely very similar to Polynesian since it's just one stop over on the monorail loop. The resort loop is one stop away from Magic Kingdom, which is the most convenient way to get to Magic Kingdom from this resort. Just like at the Poly, their monorail station is on the second floor of the lobby. And one thing we forgot to mention earlier is that you go through security before you get on the monorail at the monorail resorts. So when you're dropped off at the parks, you can just go straight to the touch points and then scan into the parks. You won't have to go through security when you get to the parks like you do when you are arriving by bus.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can walk to the TTC from the Grand Floridian, but it's definitely a bit further and not as convenient as it is from walking from the Polynesian. So it's really just a personal preference at that point. But when you want to get to Epcot, you'll have to take the Epcot line from the TTC. So either way, if you're either going to walk to the TTC or take the resorts loop to get to the TTC, you're going to transfer there for Epcot.
Yep, exactly.
So in terms of boats, there are ferries from Magic Kingdom to Grand Floridian directly, which is definitely a nice ride. You get to have that walking path as well that you can take with your own 2 feet to Magic Kingdom. It's definitely closer than the Polynesian is. So depending on your pace, it's probably about a 10 to 15 minute walk.
Yep.
It's actually a quite beautiful walk. It's a great way to get to the park if you don't mind that extra, a little bit of steps and a little bit of time.
Yep, exactly. If you're not, fed up of all the steps you're already taking.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then obviously for Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Disney Springs, it's buses. And like we said earlier, during off-peak times, sometimes these buses are shared with the Polynesian, and they'll usually stop at the Polynesian first. So something to keep in mind if you're coming back midday.
Yep, exactly. In terms of dining, again, this is a deluxe resort, so you do have quite a few options at this resort. So let's start with the recently reopened 1900 Park Fare. This is a table service character buffet that reopened earlier this year in April. And after having been closed since the pandemic, it got a complete retheme, and it's really, really nice in there. The new characters are Mirabelle, Tiana, Cinderella, and Aladdin. We actually ate here on our trip with the kids in May this year, and the buffet is really, really good. High quality food, and the meet and greets were fun, and both kids had a blast.
I actually really enjoyed the food, yeah.
100%, right? The strawberry soup was actually really good. That was something that we'd never tried before. Yeah. So that was our first time having it, and it holds up. We enjoyed it. The Grand Floridian Cafe looks fancy in terms of decor, with the theming fitting in perfectly with the resort, hence the name. But the dining is casual, so it serves accessible options at a more reasonable price point than every other table service restaurant at this resort, right? So this is American cuisine, think fried chicken, Cajun chicken, steak, among other options. Citrico's is another table service restaurant and was recently reimagined with theming inspired by Mary Poppins Returns. This newly refreshed space has blue and purple chairs with lighter colored carpets, walls, and tables. With beautiful grand windows overlooking Seven Seas Lagoon, Disney describes the food here as Florida cuisine with a Mediterranean influence, with a menu designed by Chef Andres Mendoza. It's expensive. It is a signature dining experience, so just something to keep in mind there. They have meat and fish options that are at least $40 or more per person, and they do have accessible options for kids. So it's good for a date night, but you can also take your kids here for a nice supper out as a family if you choose to do that. Narcoossee's is another signature dining experience, and it was also recently refreshed. The circular restaurant has light-colored woods, pops of blue, and grand windows with sweeping views of the Seven Seas Lagoon and Cinderella Castle. If you time your reservation right, you will see fireworks from here. The menu specializes in coastal eats, meaning seafood, but also has some meat options if you're, not into seafood. Again, they have an accessible kids menu as well. And rounding out the table service restaurant is Victoria and Albert's. Okay, so this is luxury at its finest, all right? So prices are prefixed here, and they begin at $295, right? So $300, let's face it, per person. Guests under 10 are not allowed here, and it's semi-formal at a minimum or formal, okay? And that's required.
A little too fancy for us.
Yeah, 100%. It's
We don't bring those kind of clothes when we go to Disney.
No, exactly. This is not your typical theme park restaurant, right? This would be for once in a lifetime thing or a major splurge. The cancellation policy is also much more strict, and cancellations within 5 days are charged $100 per person, and within 24 hours, the full cost of your reservation.
Ooh.
So long story short, we've never eaten here and we likely never will,
No.
but it's there if that piques your interest. For quick service, they have Gasparilla Island Grill, which serves some delicious options and specialty pastries as well. They have the Beaches Pool Bar and Grill, which has good cocktails and classic American eats like burgers and chicken strips, right? They also have the Courtyard Pool with similar but healthier options like the Greek salad and turkey sandwich. For lounges, they have the lounges at Citrico's as well as the beautiful Enchanted Rose Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
This is a newly reimagined space and it's inspired by Beauty and the Beast, and it serves up specialty cocktails and delicious light bites.
I think we have to go there because Belle is my favorite.
Yeah, 100%.
Princess.
And it's
Beauty and the Beast was my favorite growing up. So because it's themed to that, we'll have to make our way there.
No,
one
for
day.
sure, 100%. And it's received a refresh, right? So it's looking at photos, it looks really, really nice. And I think it's going to be worth stopping for a drink there. Definitely.
I agree.
The next time we're there by ourselves. Or you know what? We can probably take the kids there too. Yeah, 100%.
They're getting older and more willing to just sit down and relax a little bit
we'll get
too.
them a little something to munch on. And
as long as they have some food and a drink, they're excited.
Exactly.
So for amenities and recreation, you have 2 pools at this resort. The beach pool is the flagship pool, and that overlooks the Seven Seas Lagoon. It features a 181-foot long slide. The theming of the pool is natural spring with waterfalls and zero depth entry. There is a splash area to this pool for the smaller kids. There is also the Courtyard Pool, which is a leisure pool behind the main building, and the deepest point is 5 feet here. Like all the other Disney Resort, it features campfire activities and then movies under the stars. You can see the fireworks from the lagoon from this resort. The resort features the Grand Floridian Spa, which is a full-service spa, salon, and health club where you can get massages, hair services, manicures, pedicures, and more. There's also a gym here with everything you need to work up a sweat. So there's also basketball courts, Arcadia Games Arcade. You can take in a fireworks cruise, go catch and release fishing, rent motorized boats, and then, of course, you can catch the nightly electric water pageant. So for merchandise, you have the Curiouser Clothiers, M. Mouse Mercantile, and Sandy Cove Gifts and Sundries. So should you stay here? Some people may avoid this resort just because it's kind of hoity-toity. It looks stuffy, I guess is how you could call it. But really, there is accessible dining options, a great pool, great views of the Magic Kingdom. This is definitely a great resort and definitely worth considering if it's in your budget.
Yeah, agreed 100%. All right, next up, let's head to the last of the 3 monorail resorts, and that's the Contemporary Resort. So just like the Polynesian, this is one of 2 opening day resorts, and it opened with Magic Kingdom on October 1st of 71. The large A-frame resort sits between TTC and Magic Kingdom. If you've ever been to Walt Disney World, you can't miss it, right? It sticks out like a sore thumb. It's the resort that is physically closest to Magic Kingdom. The building itself, like we said, is shaped like an A, and it's basically all gray concrete with windows and balconies lining the outside. This resort has the monorail go like right through the middle of it, right? Unlike the other monorail resorts whose stations are kind of on the outside of the second level of the lobby, this one, it goes right through. The lobby of the Contemporary is actually pretty unique, and the monorail station is actually all the way up on the 4th floor. Some people worry that this would make the resort really loud, but the monorail is quite like quiet, right? So you can't really hear it at all from the rooms in the building. The lobby is kind of a wide open cavernous space with a couple of merchandise locations, Chef Mickey's among other offerings. The highlight of the lobby, though, is the massive floor-to-ceiling murals by Mary Blair, who is responsible for projects like the color on the facade of the attraction scenes at the Disneyland version of It's a Small World. The unique color palette on these murals are really fun to see. It's worth stopping by the lobby just to check these out at any time of year for sure. The resort includes the main A-frame building, the garden wing, and the DVC Bay Lake Tower.
The rooms in the main A-frame building were recently refurbished and are now themed to The Incredibles. The rooms have light-colored paint and then bright pops of color representing The Incredibles like yellows and reds with the not-so-subtle nods to the movie characters. Standard rooms in the main A-frame range from $750 a night to $1,000 a night. The garden wing rooms have a more subtle decor with tan-colored carpet, light-colored walls with pops of color like yellow. These are less expensive and they dip to around $550 to the mid-800s on average. Still expensive, but less expensive than the other rooms. These are separated by the covered walkway to the main A-frame building. These also offer suites with more space and separate bedrooms, but quickly jump to at least $1,500 a night. There are club level rooms here as well. That's the A-frame we mean.
Yeah, like in the A-frame.
Yeah, exactly. And prices here are, as you have guessed, higher. That's going into the $1,000 to $1,500 a night. Suites creep up to closer to $2,000 or higher. And then lastly is the Bay Lake Tower, which is the DVC Tower. But like all the other DVC properties, these rooms can be booked by regular guests. It houses deluxe studio rooms as well as 1, 2, or 3 bedroom suites. These prices range anywhere from $750 to nearly $5,000. I'm assuming that's probably a 3-bedroom suite.
And I think they have a presidential suite that's just like ridiculous.
Yeah, there you go. So that's all depending on your room category. The most affordable option, which are the studios, feature a kitchenette with the suites featuring full kitchens and a washer and dryer. So yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Steps from Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. The rooms at Bay Lake are currently undergoing a massive refurbishment project that started back in September and is set to continue well into 2025 with a projected completion date of September of 2025. Of course, that's always subject to change.
Yeah, that's floating, right?
Yeah.
It's changed for other resorts and it might change for this one too.
Exactly.
So we'll see. All right, next up, let's talk transportation. So like we said, this is a resort that's physically closest to Magic Kingdom. So the walk from the front gates, like from the resort, is like less than 10 minutes. And it's by far the best way to get to the park from this resort. Of course, you can take the monorail that runs right through the resort, but the loop will actually loop all the way around, right? So the loop only goes one way, right? So when you get on at Contemporary, you're actually going to loop back to TTC, to Poly, to Grand Flow, then to Magic Kingdom. But you are the first to be dropped off at the end of the day. So at least there's that. You can always take the resort's loop monorail to the TTC and then take the express line to Magic Kingdom. You could feasibly save time, but that depends on timing and lineups. Like we said, the easiest way to get to Magic Kingdom from Contemporary is definitely your own 2 feet. It's really not far.
No.
For Epcot, you're going to take the monorail to the TTC, and then from the TTC, you'll take the Epcot line to Epcot. And it's buses to Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Disney Springs.
And then in terms of dining, again, this is a deluxe resort, so that means a lot of options. Steakhouse 71 is a table service restaurant that serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner and is in a bright and airy space. It's a very nice restaurant.
Agreed, 100%.
Absolutely. They have great breakfast here and lunch as well. The Stack Burger is definitely worth making the trek to the resort for. And then, of course, as you may have guessed, they have a ton of steak cut options for dinner, and these are delicious as well. Other standouts are the mac and cheese, which you can get as a side with your cut of meat. The best part is while you do need advanced dining reservations for this restaurant, there's the Steakhouse 71 Lounge that doesn't require reservations, and you can certainly get some of the same menu items and drinks here as well. Next up, heading to the top floor of the resort is California Grill. This is a signature dining experience with a prix-fixe 3-course menu and features American cuisine with steak, fish, sushi, among other options. And this is where you're going to find the wildly popular Sonoma goat cheese ravioli. The setting on the top floor of the resort offers sweeping views of the Seven Seas Lagoon and Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
You can get wonderful fireworks views here if you do have your reservation for that time. And then they have a viewing balcony here as well. The best part is that if you ate earlier in the evening, you can definitely keep your receipt and then come back for the fireworks show and watch them from the balcony. I think that's a huge perk right there.
They're going to pipe in the music as well, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. California Grill is also a lounge where you can enjoy the drinks and a la carte menu items. Chef Mickey's is a buffet character meal that serves breakfast and dinner, and you'll get to do meet and greets with Mickey and friends. It's pretty standard fare here, but it's definitely popular, so reservations are definitely recommended at 60 days out. Contempo Cafe is the main quick service location at this resort. They have your standard options like burgers and chicken fingers, but they also have the specialty items and unique pastries. Contempo Grounds is a grab-and-go option where you can pick up a coffee and some light bites and snacks. Outer Rim is a lounge located not far from Chef Mickey's and Contempo Cafe, and it serves up beer, cocktails, and drinks and has great views of Bay Lake. There are 2 pool bars here as well. The Cove Bar at the Bay Lake Tower, which has a selection of drinks and light bites. And then the Sand Bar is at the main pool and serves drinks and entrees like burgers, salads, and similar items.
In terms of amenities and other recreation, you've got the main feature pool, which has a 17-foot high curving water slide. The Bay Lake pool is a quiet pool over at Bay Lake Tower. You have movies under the stars, campfire activities, the game station arcade, fishing, and motorized boat rentals, beach volleyball, tennis courts, walking and running trails, fireworks cruises, a fitness center, and of course, you can catch the electrical water pageant here as well. The main building has 2 merchandise locations, Bayview Gifts and Fantasia, where you're going to find, standard resort-themed merchandise as well as resort-specific merchandise. So, is it worth staying here? Well, it is an opening day resort, steps from Magic Kingdom, great theming, good dining options. It's expensive, right? Like all the other monorail resorts. There's no doubt about that, but it is iconic and it would be worth a try, again, if it's in the budget.
Agreed.
All right, moving away from the monorail resorts now, but still in the Magic Kingdom area, you're going to find the Wilderness Lodge. This resort is themed to the American Northwest. Picture a park lodge with exposed log wood, tons of natural wood colors and darker color palette overall. If you've been to a national park lodge, you're going to see the inspiration for the resort reflected here. This is what Disney was shooting for. It has an upscale rustic feel with a beautiful grand lobby, like really beautiful, right? It's hard to decide which Disney Resort lobby is our favorite because it's between this one and the lobby over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which makes sense because they were both designed by the same architect. It's just a really beautiful and grand space, and at Christmas time, they decorated it. It looks just so magical, complete with a massive tree like right in the middle.
It's beautiful.
This is probably my favorite resort to visit at Christmas time for that reason alone.
I would agree. The rooms here were recently refurbished and they look really good with natural colored and with light colored walls and linens. The standard rooms here are a little less expensive than the monorail resorts. Standard view rooms are around $600 a night. Courtyard view rooms are going to be closer to $800 a night. And then the fireworks view rooms will be closer to $1,000 a night. Club level rooms will be closer to $1,000 a night or more, depending on the category you book. There are 2 DVC properties here. So that's the Copper Creek Villas and Cabins and the Boulder Ridge Villas. Prices vary from about $600 a night for studio rooms and then over $2,000 a night for the cabins. The cabins are very fancy and very expensive, but they feature more than enough space for a very large family or just a big group. Yep. We stayed in the studio room at the Boulder Ridge Villas during our last stay here with the kids in May, and we had a great time. The room was perfect with the pull-down Murphy bed and the 5th sleeper. We had a balcony, and we weren't far away from the main lobby. It was a great stay. We absolutely loved it here.
Yeah, agreed 100%. We'd stay there again.
Yes.
In terms of transportation, Wilderness Lodge isn't on the monorail, but it's considered a Magic Kingdom area resort, right? So it is located on Bay Lake, which is the lake behind the Contemporary Resort. And really, it's only about a mile away from Magic Kingdom, so we're talking very, very close. You can take a boat from the Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom, but you can also take a bus if you choose to do that. We suggest taking the bus early in the morning as they're going to load and let off earlier if you're trying to make it for rope drop. If you're not pressed for time though, the boat is a much nicer way to get to the park. Of course, inclement weather can impact the boats and then you'd have to take a bus anyway, so just something to be mindful of. You can also take a boat from this resort to the Contemporary as well, and it's buses to everywhere else, so Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Disney Springs. In terms of distance, given its proximity to Magic Kingdom and the monorail resorts, it's pretty much the same distance as the monorail resorts to the other parks and Disney Springs.
Yeah. In terms of dining, this resort has some good options, although there aren't as many given that this is a deluxe resort.
Agreed, yep.
So for table service, you have the Storybook Dining at Artist Point, which is hugely popular. It's a character dining experience. Reservations here can be really hard to get even if you are a guest at this resort. So advanced dining reservations at 60 days are extremely highly recommended.
You have to.
You have no choice. You will not. I think it would be very hard to get one day of.
Yeah.
I would assume.
No, for sure. Unless somebody cancels and you're lucky enough to snag one,
it would be
you
tough,
have to
though.
prioritize that at 60 days for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So this is a prefix menu where you'll get to meet and greet with Snow White, Grumpy, and Dopey, as well as the Evil Queen. So that's a really fun mix right there.
Yeah, because you don't get to see her very often.
No, you don't. Yep. It's really fun.
Yep.
So the food is really good here. Aside from Topolino's breakfast with Mickey and the gang, this is another great option.
In terms of a character meal,
Absolutely.
100%. This is probably our second favorite. Yep.
Top-notch food here. Not only are the characters great, but the food, like I said, is delicious. It's shared appetizers and desserts, then with your own choice of entree. Kids have their own appetizers, and they are so cute. This is probably my favorite appetizers, even from the adults, but it's just so cute, the presentation of it.
Yeah, the kids, it's like a little planter, right? That's been knocked over, and that's where the veggies are.
Get the ranch.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some cheese and grapes. It was perfect for our kids because that's right up their alley for what they like to munch on. So it was perfect.
Yeah.
So the adult appetizers include mushroom bisque, which was absolutely
that's
delicious.
One of my favorites.
Top notch.
Sure.
Another table service restaurant at this resort is the Whispering Canyons Cafe. The food here is served in an all-you-can-eat skillet of American classics, and the servers are in character and will get up to some shenanigans, which is all part of the draw of this restaurant. So fair warning, if you ask for ketchup, you may end up getting every single ketchup bottle within view of your table.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's lighthearted. It's supposed
a fun
to be
thing.
fun.
It reminds me of 50s Primetime over at Hollywood Studios.
It's interactive.
Yeah.
Another table service restaurant and another personal favorite of ours is Geyser Point Bar and Grill. This is an open-air restaurant near the main pool that gives similar vibes to that Three Bridges over at Coronado Springs Resort. This resort has delicious eats and drinks. The Bison Burger is definitely one of Oliver's favorites.
Yeah, 100%.
He gets that pretty much every time we go there.
Delicious.
This place does not require advanced dining reservations, but it does get pretty busy at times.
Yeah, we waited over an hour to eat there our first night when we went with the kids.
We did, but it's all good.
It was worth it in the end. Yeah.
The Roaring Forks is the main quick service restaurant at this location that serves up standard fares for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's your standard options with the odd specialty item. For lounges, right near Otter's Point, they have the Territory Lounge. This offers light bites that are usually very good and some good cocktails and drinks options as well.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of activities and recreation, the main pool here is the Copper Creek Springs Pool, which features a 67-foot water slide built into the rocks, which fits in nicely with like the theming of like the geysers and that kind of thing at the resort.
I agree.
We spent a lot of time here during our last visit. The kids loved it. There's a splash area nearby as well for the smaller kids as well. The Boulder Ridge Cove Pool is a quiet pool closest to the Boulder Ridge Villas, which is actually where we stayed. But again, we walked by it every day and the kids had like no interest in it whatsoever.
We offered it to them and they're like, no, that's boring.
No, 100%, right? They wanted to go to the Copper Creek Springs Pool every time. And we can't say we blame them. Like that one was just much more fun. Aside from that, like all the other resorts, they have movies under the stars, campfire activities. They have fishing, running and walking trails, a gym, Button and Bell's Arcade, and the electrical water pageant comes here as well. For merchandise, they have the Wilderness Lodge Mercantile, which has standard merchandise, resort-specific merch, and some odds and ends in case you forgot something like sunscreen or like
you can also get milk,
bread, like toast, peanut butter,
cereals,
stuff like that.
Which was really come in handy with us because we always just made the peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, exactly.
For the kids
like the DVC studio rooms have those little kitchenettes. So we made a little breakfast before we would leave for the day. We loved our stay here, right? The kids did as well. We can definitely recommend it. Calm, quiet vibes, a good pool, good dining options. And it's not quite as expensive as the other deluxe resorts in the Magic Kingdom area. So we can definitely say it's a good to look at as an option for your family for sure.
I would agree.
Yep. And the last resort we'll cover today is the Cabins at Fort Wilderness. So like we mentioned earlier, not so long ago, the Cabins at Fort Wilderness were actually in the moderate resort category. But this past summer, the cabins were completely redone and are now part of Disney Vacation Club, which means they now fall in the deluxe resort category and qualify for all of those benefits. The resort is extremely spread out and it can be really a far trek from your cabin to the main lobby. The new cabins look great. We know lots of people miss the rustic look of the old cabins, but the new cabins have a lighter color palette. They're modern, but still give off that, cabin vibe with all the comforts you'd want. They have a full kitchen, a pull-down Murphy bed, and a bedroom with a queen bed and 2 bunk beds. They have a large washroom and would fit a large family comfortably. The room features touches of Disney like Chip and Dale. They look really, really good in our opinion, and it's definitely on our list of resorts to visit and stay at, right? The cabins start in the mid 400s during low season and over 600 during more busier times, right? So by like DVC/deluxe prices, it's actually not that bad.
No, it's not bad at all. So in terms of transportation, like we said, this resort is really spread out. And given that there's an internal bus loop system that will connect different areas of the cabins to the other areas of the resort, these are for internal transportation and won't actually travel to the parks. From the settlement or the outpost, that is where you're going to take the buses to the parks and to Disney Springs. You can take a boat from Fort Wilderness to Magic Kingdom, and then there are also boats that will take you to Wilderness Lodge and then on to the Contemporary Resort. You can also take a bus to Magic Kingdom, and then, of course, it's buses to all the other parks as well. So Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and Disney Springs.
So for dining, you have Hoop-Dee-Doo Musical Review, which is like dinner and a show, right? So it's located at Pioneer Hall at the resort, right? And it's all you can eat, right? So think, barbecue pork ribs, green salad, cowboy beans, fresh baked cornbread, that kind of thing.
Exactly what you would think for a rustic barbecue.
Exactly. And then you actually have a show, right? So you can sing along, you can have a good time, right? It's really like, it's a production. Yeah. It's really cool.
It would be a really fun thing to go to.
No, exactly. And then for quick service, they've got Trails End Restaurant, which serves up like your standard options, like, fried chicken, mac and cheese, burgers, that kind of thing. They have the Chuck Wagon, which is actually like a food truck with some standard light bites. They have Crockett's Tavern, which is a bar service with some light bites and some delicious drinks and cocktails. And the Meadow Snack Bar, where you can grab a light meal or pick-me-up snack right near the swimming pool, the Meadow swimming pool, which we'll get to in a second. So in terms of amenities and recreation, they have the Meadow swimming pool, right, which we just alluded to. And that's a main pool with a 67-foot long water slide. And there's a water play area for the kids here as well. And there's the Wilderness swimming pool, which is a leisure pool for more quiet vibes. There's Chippendale's Campfire Sing-Along, where Chippendale will join guests for a marshmallow roast. And it happens every night between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. There's movies under the stars, as always. And now, given that this is an outdoors kind of feel resort, and given its location, kind of like far and away and like kind of in the woods, right? There's a lot going on in terms of outdoor activities. So you have archery, the Tricircle D Ranch, where you're going to see horses and be able to take a wagon or carriage ride along the trails. There's fishing, canoe and kayak rentals, bike rentals, basketball courts, volleyball, running and walking trails, playgrounds, Daniel Boone's and Davy Crockett's arcades, and a back trail experience where you can get on the Segway, all-terrain Segway, and take a ride. That would be pretty cool. For merchandise, they have the Meadow Trading Post and the Settlement Trading Post. We've never stayed here, but the new cabins, they look really good and spacious and qualify for the Deluxe Resort perks, right? So I think we'll definitely have to stay here on one of our upcoming trip with the kids.
Yeah, I think so. So that was it for the Magic Kingdom area resorts. Again, given that there are so many deluxe resorts and that they all have DVC villas of some kind, that's a lot to go over. So we're going to do the Riviera, Animal Kingdom Lodge, the Disney Springs resorts, and the Epcot area resorts in part 2. We hope that this episode series will help you and your party decide which of these resorts you may want to try for your vacation. Each Disney resort has a lot to offer, and it can definitely be difficult to narrow down which one. So the more you know about each resort, the more likely you are going to be able to make a decision that definitely makes sense for you and your family.
Yeah, the biggest thing about these deluxe resorts is the price, right?
Yes,
so the
that's
price
a huge thing
for a lot of families is just out of reach, right? When you're talking about like $600, $700, $800 a night,
that's
US,
ridiculous
if you're coming from another country, like that's like it's outrageously expensive, right? It can make an already expensive vacation out of reach, right? So one thing that we didn't mention that I'm going to mention now is DVC rental. So reputable companies, like they don't sponsor the show. It's just something we've used. We can actually speak to it. But David's DVC Rental is a Canadian company, and essentially it links up guests and DVC owners who won't use their points for the year, and don't want their points to go to waste, essentially. So they're going to make a reservation on your behalf, and then you stay in a room, basically a DVC room, using their points. And then you pay David's DVC, which kind of acts as the middleman. Renting directly from a DVC owner can get sketchy, but when you do it from a reputable business like David's DVC, it protects you, like as the guest, but it also protects the DVC owner from guests. Right?
Yeah,
so
we've used it twice.
We've used it twice. Yeah. We've done it for Poly and we've done it for Boulder Ridge, and we ended up paying like closer to $300-$400 a night instead of like $600, $700, $800 or more dollars per night. Right. So it definitely makes like a super expensive resort less expensive.
Because we can't afford that either each time. Like that's ridiculous.
Exactly. So. And like even if it's not necessarily that we can't afford it, we just don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend $600, $700, $800 a night when I can spend $300 or $400 and then take that money and then, dine at Pace 220, go to Cinderella's Royal Table, like do different things, right, with that money. So definitely something to keep in mind if you want to stay at a deluxe resort, but you don't want to pay like those super, super high prices.
Yeah.
So with that said, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Go.to-Disney, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to Disney. We share some helpful reels here as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show notes will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day and we'll see you real soon.